A lot of people assume that I need to reach this much money in my business or else I'm a failure. So it becomes an identity thing. If it's attached to your identity, then you're going to do it for the wrong reasons. Then burnout will happen.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, a podcast designed to encourage women to take their back of the napkin idea, launch it, and grow a wildly successful business. I founded We Wild Women, an entrepreneur training company, to help women like you, moms and go-getters, start the business of their dreams the right way. Not too long ago, I launched my $1 million agency when I was 8 months pregnant with my first son and welcomed my second son only 11 months later. So I know how to grow businesses and babies. Join me as I teach you the guiding principles and how to start and grow your business while overcoming the voice in your head screaming, "It's not possible." These raw and funny episodes will make you feel like you're right here with me, sipping on some Pinot and leaving more confident saying, "Yes, I can." Every episode leaves you with some action items and a real kick in the ass to get started. Here on Into the Wild, you'll hear from other trailblazing entrepreneurs and experts because I know that the best advice is from someone who's successfully done it before. So put your headphones on, grab a cup of coffee, and tune in because Into the Wild is about to begin.
Subscribe to my mom's podcast.
Hey, you wild women. My next guest is the editor-in-chief of GOSS Magazine, a magazine that inspires and empowers women worldwide. She started her journey of empowering women just 5 years ago with the GOSS movement, which has transformed thousands of lives and continues to empower and inspire daily. She is the forefront of women's equality in every field and is why she has dedicated her life to helping women thrive. She is also the author of 101 Ways to BeGossy, which was published by Olympia Books. Please welcome the incredible Rebecca Perez.
Hello, Renee.
Oh, and if you could see her, she looks so fab.
Oh, thank you.
A cute bucket hat. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love how the connection was made just like through your team to Instagram, and here we are. So we're going to jump into some quick questions. This gives the audience a chance to get to know you better faster. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So where are you from?
Originally from Canada, Montreal, Quebec. Yes. And been world traveling. I lived between Montreal and Shanghai growing up. So I was a lot in Shanghai for the last 10 years. And now I'm in Mexico.
Oh, I love Mexico. Whereabouts in Mexico?
Playa del Carmen. It's beautiful.
Oh, yes. And what is your favorite quote?
Oh, I love this quote. The most alluring thing a woman can have is confidence. And I hope I'm saying it right. It might be can wear is confidence.
I love that. It reminds me of my favorite quote by Stevie Nicks when she says, "If you are gracious, you've already won the game."
Oh, that's good. I never heard that one.
Yeah, I love Stevie. But I like that too. Confidence is the sexiest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what is one of the best pieces of business advice you ever received?
I think to fail a lot. I like that. And I think a lot of people are scared to fail, especially now more than ever, because everything is being recorded or documented. But I think the more you fail, the more you grow and the more you develop as a person.
It's so true. I mean, think about like the biggest lessons in life was when we've failed because we're like subconsciously trying to figure out how to never do that again.
Mm-hmm. Instead of just leaning into it and thinking it's fine. Life will move on and I'll look at this back when I'm, in my 50s or 80s and I'll laugh at it.
And it's true because at the end of the day, most people just don't care. One of my clients right now, she's going through an acquisition and all of a sudden now, like it's almost happening. She has like the LOI, the stuff's happening and she's paused. She got nervous. She goes, "Oh, but then what are people going to think? Now all of a sudden I don't have a job and I'm not doing this thing anymore. That was a part of my identity." And my reply to her was, nobody actually cares.
So true.
Nobody cares.
So true.
She's like, "Really?" I'm like, no, they don't.
Worried about themselves, right? And their own things. Yeah.
Exactly. So I love that. Thank you. Okay. So what was one of your biggest business mistakes?
Ooh, I have so many. One of my biggest business mistakes, I think, was not communicating enough with certain people, whether that's with your team members or with clients or companies. I worked with a lot of really big companies in the magazine, obviously. And in the beginning, you just kind of assume certain things, which of course you should never do, never assume. And now as I've gotten better in business, I'm very communicative and I write everything on contracts. Also big things to have contracts. And I think it helps having my fiance who's a lawyer and who's really taught me everything there is to know about the legal part of business, which I think a lot of people definitely don't think about when they're starting off, right? Like 10 years down the line and they're like, oh wait, I didn't know about this or this. So
because it's just so confusing and ugly and expensive. Yeah. But, we have in previous episodes, I talked with a lady named Jamie Bell. She is a lawyer and she has a company in Canada called Contracts Market where you can actually go and buy templated contracts.
From her. Yeah, I love that.
And it's not that expensive. It's a few $100. Let me tell you, back in the day, not that long ago, for you to incorporate or get a shareholder agreement done through a lawyer was thousands of dollars. Right? Most people don't have that. But yes, 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Is contracts. And it is confusing and ugly and boring and long. And there's words that just don't make sense. And if you're a copywriter, oh my God, you don't want to read these things.
Or you don't understand them. You think you don't need them. Yeah, I don't need this clause where that clause actually saves you. And it's oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, funny enough, in Canada, there's a clause in a shareholders agreement or partnership agreement called the shotgun clause, right? And I don't think this exists in most other places in the world. If it does, it's kind of different. How this clause works is if you have a partner that will say, for example, 50-50, one partner wants to either buy the other person out or sell their shares, they can actually take advantage of this clause. But how it works is say you and I are in business and I'm I'm done. I don't want to work with you anymore, or I'm done with this industry. I say, I'm out. Now, here's the thing is now being out means this gives the other party the opportunity to either decide on whether they want to buy that person out or sell their shares.
Yeah.
And they get to set the cost.
Yeah.
I've done it before and it's interesting, but it's really good. So that I wouldn't have done that had it not been in our contract.
There you go. Wow. See?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So tell me, is there something that you're reading or listening to now that you could recommend?
So many. Okay. When it comes to books, 100 Ways to BeGossy. I recommend it. No, but really that book came from me reading so many business books growing up, from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich all the way through to Grant Cardone's 10X to so many, of course, Jamie Kern-Lima's Believe It, best book. Love that book. That book is the reason I reached out to her and was we need to interview you. And now she ended up on a cover. There's a lot of books, of course, in business. And what I realized is that it's really about what are the things that you are lacking the most at the moment, right? So let's say a big thing that I've noticed is, business modalities can be confusing, or how to, again, 10X your business, Grant Cardone. So I took all of those books and put them in 101 in a very quick way, because you're not going to go around as a business owner. Also, you have no time, right? Time is of the essence, and that's your strongest asset. So you can't go around reading 1,000 books as much as you'd want to. So I took down basically the best books I found in business, from the most vulnerable part of who you are and how that is actually a gift, right? To all the way through to how to get that $1 billion empire that you want to build. And I created a templated version of 101 ways to essentially get all those things in a way that is easy and simple to read and effortless. And that's really why it was kind of note-taking for me. It was I wanted to remember all these books.
Yeah.
Of them. So I created that in a very short illustration book. So there's illustrations also to go.
I love pictures.
Me too, right? So I feel like creative entrepreneurs too, they can't just read things. They got to see it also. So I put them both together for that reason.
I love that. And where can people get the book?
It's going to be on newsstands everywhere. Books are sold probably the end of the summer.
Oh, it's not out yet. That's right.
No,
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait. Pursuing big ideas, following your dreams, and taking chances can feel scary, especially if you're doing this all alone. That's why I created the Wild Collective, a community for women just like you who want to create, launch, and grow a wildly successful business. Whether you're just starting out or in a rut or aiming for the first $1 million in sales, there is nothing more powerful than surrounding yourself with a community of women just like you that want to succeed. Look, you can Google the answers to all your business questions and find some stellar content. You can vent to your friends, or you can lean on your neighbor for some business advice. But nothing compares to joining a vetted community of insanely talented and mindful women that are all reaching for the same dream, to live their life on their terms while growing a purpose-led business. In the Wild Collective, we host monthly expert trainings, group coaching from myself and other experts, access to a growing portal of incredible content designed to help bring your business to life and beyond, discounts to offers and events, and the greatest growing community in this corner of the internet. So if you're craving that connection and community as a listener to the podcast today, you can gain early access to the Wild Collective. Simply pause this episode. Pause the episode, click the link in the show notes, and join us. I can't wait to connect with you and help you grow a wildly successful business. See you there. I would love to know what inspired you to start your company.
Yes. So I started my first company. I was 19 years old, and I started with my best friend's older sister at the time, who was 5 years older than me. I knew nothing about business, but I grew up in a family with 3 older brothers and a father who are all entrepreneurs. So they kind of kicked my butt growing up to be like, you got to make your own money, you got to be independent. They always had that mindset. But I was the only girl in my family that wanted to be in business. And so I started when I was 19 and really did the whole old school door to door, doing whatever I could to make my business successful. And I realized I was the only one, like we were the only one, me and my business partner, the 2 women that were going to business meetings and that were dressing up in suits. And there was only men at the table. And so that business, I ended up getting bought out, actually, interestingly enough, a few years later. And I started GOSS when I was 23.
Wow.
And it just happened for me. It just was like GOSS. I wanted girl boss at first. And then the word just came to me and it was like, no, GOSS. And it was going to be, that just came out of nowhere. And it started off being an online magazine and then became a print magazine. And now it's the whole movement of itself.
Yeah, that's so cool. So what were you doing? What was the business that you started when you were 19?
Oh, it was a private daycare. It was
cool.
Children. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So were you actually in the weeds with the kids?
No, we weren't there yet. No, we were just really the business side of it and creating a franchise. So I learned everything about business from that standpoint through that.
That's so interesting. It's so needed too. I mean, childcare is one thing, like guaranteed to get customers pretty much right away.
That was the business model. It was like, okay, this is going to work.
I love that. Okay. So now you started GOSS and you have like some really cool like slogan words that you've created. One of it is called BeGossy.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So interesting enough with that story is I ended up getting a brand partnership with the W Hotel brand the first few months of me launching GOSS. And they are the one who came up to me and were like, let's create BeGossy events for your event, like for your, your platform and to inspire women. And it could be networking events for women. And that's where the term BeGossy came about. And I loved it. So I stuck to it and was like, okay, let's just continue with that. I'm going to shout out to Joelle, who was the publicist at the W Hotel. She was the PR event coordinator and she's the one who came up with that.
I love that. BeGossy. So explain it though. Like, what's the definition of it?
I would say it's really to level up. To be GOSSy is really like, and every single person has aspirations and things they want to do, no matter how much success they get financially or how, purposeful they feel inside. There's always something you want to improve in your life. So BeGossy is really a terminology that just whenever you feel like you're not motivated to do that thing or to wake up at 5 a.m. or to go to the gym, like, you step up here and you're like, okay, I'm going to be GOSSy today. I'm just going to go and do it. I'm going to put on the heels and the suit and, just go get things done.
I love it. Oh, I can't even say the word bossy anymore. I can only say gossy.
Right? And actually, we're talking to Oxford Dictionary right now to create GOSS as a real word. Because when I think of boss, and that's kind of like the male definition, in my opinion, boss just feels like too masculine. There's no woman touch in there. And goss to me just feels like really just gossy. Like you just want to be gossy. It's like feminine and it's got something to it that represents, I think, women in business. And I actually pitched it to the Oxford English Dictionary, and they were like, listen, as long as we can get enough people to actually use this word, we can definitely make it happen. So that's
oh my gosh. So because I know you'll appreciate this, right? In Canada, there's a coffee chain called Tim Hortons, and they created the term double double, which means 2 creams, 2 sugars, which is in the dictionary.
Now look at that. Yeah, because people probably used it so much.
Yeah. All right. So we all have to help support you in getting that. What do we got to do to make that word get in the dictionary?
Use it in your like everyday prose, like just gossip, BeGossy. Just you can use that with. We have so many girls that do it, and they send it to us, and we really appreciate it already. It's amazing.
Okay, so if you're a writer, if you're on social, then use the terms gossy or BeGossy, and then it'll be in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Awesome. So speaking of your magazine, you've interviewed thousands of businesswomen from all industries. Yeah. What have you noticed is a reoccurring theme on how they've created massive wealth?
Oh, I love this question. So I think, and again, it does not matter what industry and which part you are in your life, consistency has been such a game changer. And then having a huge purpose behind, like, of course, your why, right? Which a lot of people say as well. So people will get to a certain level too of, okay, but I just wanted to take it off my bucket list, or it was a goal that I wanted to achieve. But to really get to the next level in anything, you really need to understand the reason behind it. Like my reasoning, and I think my why is really that every single woman in the world gets to have financial freedom and to just be able to have their own voice and not have to depend on a man or on somebody in their family to make them just live, right? Because wealth is fundamental to just living. Like we need it in order to survive. So I think having that behind me is so big, and it has so much purpose that it has something to do with me. And I always say that if at the end of my life I can own 1% of GOSS, it would make me the happiest. Like I want it to really be a contribution for all women.
Right. So you've had some pretty big names that you've interviewed too. What are like recently some women that really inspired you that have been on the cover or within your magazine?
A recent one that I loved and that I just recently met into her world was Melanie Anlayer from Alpha Femme. Came in, and turned out she was from my hometown of Montreal, Quebec. Loved what she's doing for women and her whole movement as well. Alpha Femme became a movement as well on inspiring women to create big wealth. And I really love everything that she does and says. And I also really loved Jamie Kern-Lima, of course, from A Cosmetics. Love everything that she does and her story too. If anyone has not read her book, I recommend it so much. Like how it made me cry so many times because I could really feel her words. And I was like, yes, everything that she was saying was like, again, on a bigger purpose, I think, of women and their journeys. Pilot Maria on Instagram is one of our next aviation covers. She is amazing. She's a mom who's a commercial pilot out in Sweden. And she's just doing what every aviation woman would love to do as a dream, being a mother too, and proving that you can do it all.
Yeah, these women are incredible. In understanding their stories and like their purpose, what is the common thing that you see with them? And maybe not just creating their wealth, but in being fulfilled by the work that they do.
Interesting. They love what they do. That's what it is. It's really the passion that comes behind it. I think a lot of these women, nobody had an easy story. I think everybody's got their struggle at some point. If it was a personal, if it was in their family, if it was in their environment, but they somehow thrived past it. And that also has a really inspiring motive that no matter what you've gone through, you can still achieve greatness and you can still live out your dreams, right? Like some people will say and I've heard so many stories of like women, especially on our platform, who wanted to be a doctor or a cardiac surgeon, and they were the first in their family to do it. They never had the means to do it. Like residency was so hard. So you hear all these really big and real struggles, but they still pursue it and they come out the other side. So that part kind of gives you that push too, to say, okay, well, if they did it, I can do it.
I know. And in coaching and in understanding the industry there's a lot of women, especially entrepreneurs, that are just like at this roadblock. And I always refer to the book, The Big Leap, where he talks about internal thermostats in terms of the wealth we think that we're worth right? And a lot of it has to do with like, it's in our DNA, it's like generational beliefs, right? Women are not supposed to earn $1 million, right? They're supposed to stay at home and raise the kids. And maybe they can do both. And as we're seeing, it's becoming more common. But what do you see with these women too, especially, and I urge all the listeners to go check out the magazine and read some of these stories, that these women do to break through those barriers? Like you talk about purpose, but what is the thing? Is it like a morning ritual? Is there a mindset? Is it like CrossFit? Like, is there something you see that is so common amongst these women?
It's almost like a moment when they just like wake up. It's like this like inner like waking up where they decide like, I need to do more in my life. Like there needs to be more. And that can lead to something negative, of course, as we all know, right? It can lead to burnout if you're taking it in too much of an extreme. But I think, again, when you're sticking it back to the purpose, because a lot of people assume that I need to reach this much money in my business or else I'm a failure. So it becomes an identity thing. If it's attached to your identity, then you're going to do it for the wrong reasons. Then burnout will happen. If you're doing it like, and I love how Melanie had said it in in our interview, she was saying, I want to make 1 million women millionaires. So that goal is so much bigger than her because it's really about other women creating big wealth. And then it'll never burn her out too, because it's like I'm contributing in a way that I'm making other women autonomous, not taking all the burden upon me and thinking that it's about just me, which a lot of people tend to do.
Yeah.
Or they think they can't reach out, right? And ask for help and like do it in a team.
Yeah. And what I've noticed too, and I mean, this is common in business, is that if you're aligned with the work that you're doing, understanding like your passion is your purpose. And if you do it well, that the money comes, and it might not be like $1 million paycheck on day one, but it'll come. But if you do, revenue and earning money before anything else, then it doesn't come. So there's this quote from James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits. He says, most big, deeply satisfying accomplishments in life take at least 5 years to achieve. This can include building a business, cultivating a loving relationship, writing a book, getting in the best shape of your life, raising a family, and more. 5 years is a long time. It is much slower than most of us would like. If you accept the reality of slow progress, you have every reason to take action today. If you resist the reality of slow progress, 5 years from now, you'll simply be 5 years older and still looking for a shortcut.
I love that. That reminds me of when they say like, by the time I'll be 32, I'll be a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. And people are like, but you're going to turn 32 anyways. So might as well be 32. And
at least we hope to turn 32. And then we hope to turn 42 and 52 and 62. Like we all generally want to grow older. Right.
Right. It's like I might as well do it with that book or that business to start or something, like instead of looking at the time frame. So I love that you said that.
Yeah, because it's like, who cares how long it takes as long as you're enjoying the journey. It's all about the journey, right? Because once you reach the destination, you're there, you're like, okay, now what? Right? And that's where we come conflicting with the identity we once had is now going to change because you're at the end of this journey. It's like the person who worked so hard to train to climb Everest and finally summited. And now they're coming back down the mountain and they feel so empty because that purpose is gone, right?
And this is a big thing that, of course, not many people can relate. They can relate to that. But there was Jessica Meir, who we interviewed. She was one of the 2 women. She's a NASA astronaut who went to the moonwalk, and she was one of 2 women to do that. And she was saying that usually that's the biggest thing, right? Is when you come off that mission that you have that like moment of, wait a second, like I did the big thing. Like that's it, it's been done, right?
And then now what? And now you talk about it. But it's so true. And the point of this and saying this quote and coming back to your story is like, who cares how long it takes?
Yeah.
Just do it, right? Like you said, you're going to turn 32 anyway. You may as well at least be a doctor by then.
And I also think attaching more than one goal. I think people, and this is where I've noticed by reading a lot of things about athletes who end up depressed once they're not athletes anymore, right? Is they attach their whole life to that one thing. Like, I need to only be this. Yeah. And if either, this is over, like I retire, for example, then what else is there? And I have a friend whose father retired from like an NFL, and he was a huge athlete. And she was saying like, he doesn't know what to do with himself anymore. He's like went down in depression because of it. And I almost feel like had he attached more to that, like, go be a coach now for other NFL athletes or write a book about your story, right? Like there's so many other things you can do to stay in that environment without having that pressure of saying like,
Yeah. It's
like
else,
I'm nothing, right? Because
going back to like the example at the beginning too, is that at the end of the day, it's like nobody cares. They actually care more about what you're purposeful and passionate about next than about anything else.
Yeah.
And if you need to take time off, and take time off. But really, it's like, do it for yourself. Do it for the people that you know need for you to show up and to create that impact. Okay, so I have one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
Wild woman is just being unapologetically yourself. I think it's something that women need to do more of. And when I saw that in the first time in the background of your wallpaper and I saw We Wild Women, I was like, yes, like it resonated so much because it's what everyone needs to be more of.
It's funny because that is the word unapologetic yourself is probably the most common answer to this question, which the other day got me thinking, do I have an event or something that has the word unapologetic in it? Because it's like, why do we have to apologize for who we are? We don't. We should actually be like, right?
We should be ourselves. Yeah. I like that. It's true. Yeah, just like a aha moment. Wait a second.
Exactly. Okay, so if people are interested in finding out more about you, where can they go online to find you?
On Instagram. I'm really not active on my personal page. So best to go on GOSS Magazine where all the girls are and our whole team is there always. And we're just always looking at contributing and putting more women.
Yeah, the content's amazing. It's GOSS Magazine. I'll put all that in the show notes. Well, Rebecca, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Renee.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time. The best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.